an honor to be here this afternoon. I give thanks for having an opportunity to reason with ones in Zimbabwe, to be here on the land. We've heard a lot about Zimbabwe in the West, and Jamaicans have always felt very close and connected to this country, in particular in Africa. It was my own pleasure when I arrived. I was taken out of the visitors line and put in the returning residence line. And you know, all the Americans on the flight had to pay visa and all of that, and I didn't experience any hassle at all. I was in and out very quickly, and that was particularly pleasing, you know, to really feel welcome and like a son of the soil return. My trip here, as the chairman mentioned, comes as a part of a visit to the 8th Pan-African Congress, which just ended in South Africa. I was a participant from the Caribbean, and in a sense, I feel as though I perhaps have represented Zimbabwe, given all that happened on my entry here, you know. So Zimbabwe, through I was represented, though I was a diaspora. But I give thanks, and it's an honor to share this platform with esteemed scholars from Zimbabwe. I also want to thank my host, Thomas Debbie, for having rallied out the forces and brought this important reasoning together. I too am a student at this moment. I'm here in Africa, and I'm here to learn and to share that which I've learned with those in Jamaica. So that's my first objective. I can share some of my own insights and work with you. At the University of the West Indies, I am a lecturer in cultural studies and coordinate what is the Rastafari Studies Unit. This is a special project that has existed for about 15 years. And came into being because about 15 years ago we developed a connection with elders of the Nabing, in particular Mortimer Planner, who some of you might know as Bob Marley's teacher and mentor. And that elder spent the last 8 years of his life residing at the university as a part of a process of archiving his work and preserving his papers, so that they would be accessible and available to the generations to come. My PhD work actually looks at his life work, and it represents a kind of connection or framework that I think is important at this time, which is that link between the academy and the activist world in seeking to document and preserve the experience of the struggle. Now, having studied cultural studies, my work is not theology, it's not history, it's not anthropology. It's a combination of methods that privileges the insider as a source for explaining phenomenon, and therefore it's my privilege as a practitioner, Rastafari, to go within and to share what that insight reflects and reveals. Rastafari, interestingly, is one of the most well-documented cultural phenomena to have emerged in the last century. Interestingly though, this documentation is not by us, it's not by West Indians. The experts, so to speak, on Rastafari reside in Washington, in The Hague, in the UK. There's even a Rastafari expert on Rastafari music in Japan, a woman, Yoshika Shibachi, who did her work in the 80s, quite a while back. And in a sense, I and I, Africans, black people, Jamaicans, Caribbean persons, have been slow in really looking deeply at this movement and trying to interpret and explain it. So my work in particular tried to make sense of Rastafari in my space and my life. And one of my earliest insights was that Rastafari in Jamaica constructed and operated out of a poverty laboratory. So poverty is our common unifier. Trenchtown, Tivoli, Arnett, Jungle, wherever you want to call, you know, this is the space that Rastafari is most dominant in. And within those spaces, Rastafari is the salvation of those spaces. Key leader, key teacher, key father of the fatherless. So my work then sought to make sense of Rastafari to Jamaican society. What is the role and place of this movement? I mean, we know that many people tend to focus on Rastafari aesthetics. You know, dreadlocks, idea of herb and ganja, the image and veneration of His Majesty as our divine inspiration. But what has the movement done within the context that it exists? What has it provided the wider society? In my assessment, Rastafari has been the key decolonizing tool, decolonizing voice, decolonizing facility. And in this respect, I think this is where Rastafari becomes a platform for international collaboration, international expansion, and the appeal that we see that makes Rastafari one of the most potent African diaspora contributions that we have now. In looking at the movement in the context of Jamaica, we can't do that without looking historically. Historically, based on the colonial experience, the African male was completely marginalized or erased from the domestic space. Our histories, our families, our day-to-day existence are driven through the work of the mother and the focus on the mother. So mothers within our society have a measure of respect, perhaps not as much as they ought to have, but they have the respect from having been historically present and historically the source that keeps the children going. But if you're to talk to 1 in 3 Jamaicans, they don't have a connection to their father. Many of them don't know their father. Many of them claim that it is only through Rastafari that they've known what fatherhood is or what a father is. So in my mind, Rastafari becomes the surrogate father for the society. It's the father that most of the Jamaican society did not have. Within the Jamaican context, Rastafari is considered to be primarily a male-dominated movement. And based on the latest statistics that we've seen from government census, the movement is 85% male, in Jamaica that is. This is slightly different outside of Jamaica, and in some places like Trinidad and Tobago it's almost 50-50, which is unusual, and we've not really had any studies to tell us why Trinidad might be so different from Jamaica. But within this male fraternity, brethren and brethren are developed into what I would describe as responsible African males. So the understanding of self, the understanding of father, the understanding of man with woman is therefore shaped and driven by the intervention of Rastafari in the society.